need Dr. Doki the live action movies, quite frankly.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would really be nice. Yeah.
No, oh god.
Can imagine that.
I know we went on a bit of a tangent with video games. I'm going to bring it slightly back to movies a bit here.
Absolutely.
I think let's just move on to we say the controversial thing here, a bit about No Time to Die.
Mm.
I'm over exaggerating here, and but it feels sometimes like it's me and basically Joseph Darlington who are like singing the praises a bit of No Time to Die quite a bit. For me, I'll get straight to it. I'm okay with the ending of No Time to Die because for me, it harkens back to like Sherlock Holmes' The Final Problem, bit of like Logan's clearly inspiration, and for me, it was the death of the Craig Bond, not Bond the character. I always thought this is just the death of Craig's thing. Definitely, the next film is obviously going to be a complete reboot. So I was sort of like okay with that. I can like Craig's 5 films, that's separate, beginning, end, fine. Not the death of Bond. I mean, how do you feel about the whole death of Bond? Really, I know I know you've talked about this before, but I'd love to hear it again here.
Maybe my opinion changed. Like some people say it gets better with age, but it doesn't. And people told me I'm too harsh about this and I should give it a rewatch and it will change my opinion. No, it won't. Because my opinion has nothing to do with how the film is made. It is a good film. It is a fantastic film. And people say it's not a Bond film. It is a Bond film. It is a good film. It has very, very good parts. But the difference is, this is not the story I want to see. And I didn't know, because we Bond fans, we go into every Bond film. I know something about the story before. I don't know that he dies. I mean, I listened to the score by Hans Zimmer beforehand, and I knew from the way Hans Zimmer composes, in very big hyphens, that Final Ascent, that this is a death theme, a death and remembrance and hero theme. The hero will die. So I went into the film knowing that, basically. But the way the story is told, with Bond having a child and all of that, and this scene with the apple and all of that, this is not the kind of story I want to be told in a Bond film. That's not the story I want to see on screen. So this film was not for me. This has nothing to do with how the film is made. It's a fantastic film. Everybody takes away something from it, and it has great scenes. The Aston Martin chase is wonderful. It looks odd in places because you see there's a bit of CGI that you can blatantly see, but apart from that, it even works with the music. I'm not a fan of Hans Zimmer, not at all, never have been, but it works in that scene. It works. His thundering theme. This works also in Cuba, where it's a bit repetitive, but it is more the whole picture, what they tell you before the film to hype you up, what you read and see before a film is released, and then seeing the actual film. And that will make you like or dislike a film. When they tell me before that the female characters like Paloma are totally advanced and an equal to Bond, and a modern day woman, spy, capable to do action, and then she comes across as so dumb, then I feel fooled. I feel fooled. That's my first week after training. Something like that, what she said. I don't even remember because I've seen it.
I thought she was just playing with Bond. Oh yeah, I thought it was, for me, it was like a running gag she was just doing with him. I mean, clearly, I know, probably inexperienced, but just like, clearly like having a bit of a sort of a cover. I mean, for me, one of the things I talk a lot about with the film is not really about the death of Bond, actually, because people just, again, are just like, yay, nay, just, that's it. Some people feel they have an issue with Lashana Lynch's character, the new 007 in the film. For me, I love the character because, again, going back to what we discussed earlier, there was such great verbal jousting. There was when she one-up Bond, then he would one-up her. And as the film progressed, you could see that friendship developing to a real mutual respect between the two. And for me, that was one of the things that sort of worked for me a bit in that sense. How do you feel about that sort of character and everything else?
Well, usually I'm on par with everyone, but I have to disagree there, which is great. I love when people disagree. and I had it recently in a podcast with somebody who made me see another side of that. I did not care much about Lashana Lynch's character because I thought it was thrown in there for, I don't want to say diversity reasons, because that's not what it is. And we had this whole episode of the 007 number and all of that. And it's just a number. It's weird. She's not James Bond. But think about the film without Lashana Lynch's character. You could leave her out of it, and the film would still work. And the jousting is okay between them. Sure.
You are right about that, about the character. You are actually right.
It leads to nothing eventually. Because he dies. Why build up a friendship? Somebody in the end dies. Why does she not stay on the island? He has a kid. Why does she not stay on the island?
No, I have to admit, you are right there. I haven't thought about it from that side. If you took her out, she would not be there, and a simple change of the story could be that. I'll give full credit. I hadn't really actually thought about that. That is a fair point. So thank you for actually bringing me that side of things.
It wasn't even my thought. It was of a guest of my podcast, but he really calculated, and he's a man of symbolism, and he also, what you see on screen are symbols. When Bond and Naomi go to the island of Safin, you see their symbols on screen, and I discovered on the podcast what Greek symbol is assigned to her and what letter this is, and it's the 5 and the 7. So 005 and 007. Do you know what at the end of the film, what Nomi's number is when she's not 007 anymore? She's 005. Because that's the Greek symbol that's on the screen for her. I didn't see that. I found it out on the podcast when I was talking to him. He gave me, thank God, he didn't take away the solution. He gave it, the riddle, to me. And I was like, God, why did I not see that?
No, I mean, I found that, again, like you, someone pointed that one out to me. I mean, I think that perfectly segues into the next thing. And I'll fully accept this is something I love talking to all Bond fans about. Because for me, don't get me wrong, I want Bond 26 now. I want to watch it. I want to see what the new direction is. But I can't deny I'm loving all the speculation. I'm enjoying is it this person? Is it this person? Are they going to go this way? Is this person going to direct? What's going to happen? What's really happening? I'll start off with this. Again, my opinion, purely mine. If someone comes to me and says, when we've obviously had a lot of Barbara saying, oh, we're not working on it, we're not doing anything with it, I think that's pure baloney. I think she is trying to have a little laugh behind her back, trying to say that, but we know she's working hard on it with Michael. I'm sorry. I refuse to accept. They might be still struggling with ideas, but I guarantee you they're working hard. They're not just, oh, we haven't started yet. We're not really. I don't believe that for a second. Not in a million years. What's your feelings about that? And what do you think the direction and stuff you'd like to see in the future of Bond?
This is difficult, what I would like to see in the future. First of all, to answer that first, I wouldn't say never, but I don't want to see a story arc like the Daniel Craig films again. Like I said, this is not the kind of story I want to be told in one film on screen. If I go to watch some drama, that's okay. That's my choice. I want to watch drama. But I want to go to the cinema for 2 hours of fun and escapism, action and entertainment. Single mission, Bond on a single mission, exotic locales, beautiful girls, fast cars, all in the package of what is relevant today and what we can do on screen. But I would say the same thing. They have something. They are working on it. But same as IO Interactive, you don't tease and then come up with nothing for a while. So of course they are working on something, and I can understand when they work on other projects. Sure, she's not. Her job title is not Bond producer. That's not her sole focus in life. She's a powerful Hollywood producer, and sure, they are working on something. Absolutely. Maybe not Michael and Barbara. Maybe Barbara and somebody else, because Michael Wilson is getting really old. Maybe Greg Wilson will step in, although I don't really think he's in for taking over a franchise and a load like that on his shoulders. I think he has other plans. But yeah. they will be doing something. There is not nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And the actor they will pick will be someone relatively unknown to us now, will be a face from British television or something, where they see potential and somebody they can nail down for probably the next 10 years. That's what I think, yeah.
Allow me to share another thing. I share this with everyone. So far, I think it's like, again, I've tried a lot about this on my channel. I know Dr. Bond Family you're on feels sort of similar to me. I would love them to go back in time and do like some period piece James Bond movies. I think you can allegorize it to like things that are happening today, whether it be war in Ukraine, global warming, etc. But I think it could be something unique, different, and makes Bond a trendsetter again, basically. How do you feel about if they said like the next Bond film, we're now back in time to the 1950s of the Bond books or back to the 1960s of the original Bond movies?
It's difficult because going back to another era, setting the films there will throw up a lot of challenges for you as a filmmaker. First of all, it will take away what everybody is always screaming for, more fun, more humor, more entertainment, more gadgets. You cannot do any modern gadget stuff in the 1960s. I mean, you can do traditional spy stuff that they had at the time, like
I think that's
shooting lipsticks or whatever.
See, I think that's important because I think nowadays with so much technology about it, it sort of ruins the fun aspect of it. If you take it back to that sort of stuff, you can have a bit more leeway and a bit more sort of fun.
I can understand. In that respect, it would absolutely be interesting. Yeah. And I love the 60s. I'm stuck in the 60s. So if you give me a Bond film from the 60s, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, I'm a singer and I sing swing and jazz, and that is from the 50s and the 60s. What I sing. Sinatra, Dean Martin, they were big in the 60s. So I'm stuck in that period. Martinis, a typical 60s drink for conversation at cocktail hour, something like that. It's all typical 60s. If they do that, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Man from U.N.C.L.E. had a great style. The film had tons of flaws, but it was fun. It was fun. Just make the films fun.
I think they're going to do that. I think the next era of Bond...
I hope so.
Well, trying to sort of think about it. I mean, obviously they go from one extreme to the other to a degree. It's serious, it's more lighthearted. It's serious. Try to do a mixture of the two, but ends up being more lighthearted. You've gone to serious. I think you could tell in Die Another Day, No Time to Die, they were trying to remake a lot more of the classical, over-the-top fun elements. You've got the private island owned by the bad guy. You've got the fun action sequences like in Cuba. You've got the Bond tropes really sort of starting. I think they are going back into a bit more of a fun sort of Bond. And I think cinema in general is like we're wanting fun. So I think, that is, I think, definitely going to happen. I think I'll ask the big question between Bond friends here. There's news of Aaron Taylor-Johnson. People want Henry Cavill. There's so many names going about. I'll never get tired of hearing people's reasons why they want X person, because I think every single person has something slightly different. You know what I'm going to ask you. Who are some of your choices?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't have someone. No, I really don't. No, I really don't. I mean, I made a video about Henry Cavill, but I was just assessing if that is something viable, if that could work. He is, what is he, 47?
No, it's like 42 now. So
42? So he's my age. He's my age, yeah. It looks a lot better.
Not much.
But okay. He does. But I want to be surprised. Same as I was surprised when Daniel Craig was announced. And I did not understand the hate he got. Blonde Bond and everything. Roger Moore. Look at Roger Moore. What was his hair color?
I'm going to put my hand up here. I was 13 at the time. Or something, I think. Something like that. I will admit, I was like, this is not James Bond to me. I'll hold my hand up. I loved him in Layer Cake. I thought he was brilliant in that film. Still to this day, I watch Layer Cake. I thought, okay, I'm sorry, this is not my idea of what I think Bond is. I don't see him as James Bond. What are you doing? First teaser came out. I was wrong. And I was literally saying to all my friends, I was wrong. So I will admit, I was on the bandwagon of I don't think Craig was Bond. Not for because he was blonde or anything. It was more just I just couldn't see him as James Bond. I was so stuck in the Brosnan sort of way. I mean,
of course, yeah.
And for me,
I understand.
I love Henry Cavill. He is my choice to play James Bond myself. But I think since he's committed to the Highlander reboot and the I Cannot Wait for Warhammer 40k TV show, I think for him, he's out. I think.
Yeah.
So I think
so. His profile is way too big. I mean, even if you consider what kind of audience he would bring to the cinema, I mean, it would be sold out. They would sell so many tickets with his name on the poster. But still,
I mean, the only way I could see them doing it is just like there were. I remember rumors like Nolan was signed on to direct 2 or 3 or something, like a trilogy. If they agreed, like, right, you know, it's Cavill and Nolan together, we're going to sort of write and design it all as a trilogy, maybe even film it back to back, I don't know, or something quickly, then it could be possible. Outside of that, I'm not sure.
I will, as with every film, I will hope they surprise me positively. But when it comes to the actors portraying Bond, everybody that has now been on the radar, it's like Bond Tinder. It's like no, for various reasons. And in the end, I know I don't need to invest this time because they will pick somebody completely else. And Daniel Craig, at least here in Germany, was relatively unknown after Layer Cake. His face was relatively unknown. When they announced him as Bond, if you went to the street and asked the girls, who is that guy coming out of the water? He's filming Casino Royale at the moment. Look at this body. They would not know who this is.
Yeah.
And then when it became more popular and they started selling Daniel Craig ice cream to lick on, suddenly he was a thing. And people, and that is a great story. I was never a Craig hater. I was always go into the film first and then judge the performance, which I did. And everybody here in Germany knew the hate that Daniel Craig got because it was here as well. Our tabloid press was also full of copying from the British press. They just copy. And when Casino Royale was on, I was in the very first screening at 7 minutes past midnight. 007.
Yeah.
Well, back when they still did that. Today they don't even care about that.
Oh, yeah.
So Bond is not a thing anymore. It's not a big thing anymore. And that's sad. We really need to change that. They need to change that with whatever they come up with next. Bond has to become a thing again. And when Casino Royale was on and the main title came, and you know his silhouette builds up and you can see his face and he walks towards the camera, people applauded in the cinema. After seeing that opening sequence.
Oh, that was Skyfall, wasn't it? When he walked?
No, that was Casino. And that
in the title sequence,
that was the measurement of how wrong they all were after seeing the Casino opening sequence. I never heard people applauding in the cinema before because I hate when people are loud.
Oh yeah. Unless it's comedy when you're all laughing together, it's just like please be silent so much.
Yes.
I mean, I to say I was one of the doubters. I mean, ever since then it taught me the lesson: don't doubt until you see the film. I mean, that's why like recently I was screaming, I think Robert Pattinson will be a great Batman. I was like Heath Ledger will be a great Joker. Sorry, they're the two obvious ones, but I was shouting that. There is so much to get into. I mean, talk about the future so much here, but one of the other things I really wanted to do was to really sort of expose and tell people much more about your next documentary, because I think it's something that I think it's the more time goes on, the more that we're still waiting just for like even the announcement that you are developing Bond 26. I think it's so valuable and important because it shows how fantastic this community is. So please just spill your guts about your documentary and about all the stuff about it, please.
Yeah. Bonded by 007. That's the title it got. Because that's what we are, we fans. We are bonded together across the globe by this pop culture phenomenon, James Bond. But only since the internet is there. So since 97, 98, we started to connect and form communities, and now we sit here speaking face to face. You are in North Yorkshire.
Yep.
I'm here in Germany. Saturday, I spoke to somebody from LA for 3 hours. That was not possible back in the day. So that is what my film will explore. It will start with the Bond fans who grew up in the time, in the 60s and the 70s, when the films were on reruns in the cinemas, and they were young at that time, and now they're in their 60s or in their 70s. And they speak of a time where there was no internet. How did they meet? How did they get in touch with other fans? Or were you a single Bond fan, just being a fan for yourself? I can tell you there are really some interesting stories, and I try to get pictures from that time as well from the people who will share these stories. So it will be a very personal documentary just about the stories of us fans. And it's not my idea. It was the idea of Ian Jacklin, who posted it on Twitter. Wouldn't it be great to have a documentary like Everything or Nothing, but from us fans or about us fans? And I was the first one who said, I have the equipment, I can do it. I have the knowledge, I can do it. But I have the time, I don't. But it's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea.
It is.
And 60 people responded to me within just a couple of days. So I'm on a regular Skype interview schedule now, interviewing the people who live too far away or where I can travel to. I went to a very lovely German village, a small German village with a lovely historic old town, where I interviewed the first guest who will speak first in the documentary, an American expat who lives here, met a German wife. It's a lovely story. And he speaks of how he saw Goldfinger at a bloody young age and how this changed his whole life. And you could see it as a continuation of my film, A Bond for Life, how James Bond changed your life, because Bond changed all our lives in so many different ways. It influenced us. It made us more knowledgeable, more intelligent, more sophisticated. And then we grew together as a community once the internet came along. So the golden thread will be the older generations, then the newer ones, and how we were connected as a community by Bond through all these years. And I don't know how editing will be. It will be challenging because a lot of us have similar stories, like you and me.
Yeah.
Goldeneye being the first point of exposure. And of course, I don't want people to have 10 minutes in a row telling the same story. Yeah. So editing-wise, this is a challenge to make the film tell a coherent story. But ultimately, it's the voices of the fans, the stories, the personal anecdotes and stories of the fans that I find most interesting, because I love storytelling. And it's the first film where I hope I have nothing to say. I will just edit and keep my mouth fairly closed. Yeah.
No, it's
because it's all about us, but minus me.
No, again, I think it's such a wonderful idea because it celebrates, as you say, our Bond community and how we all sort of connect. You know, thanks to starting this channel, I've met like great people like yourself and so many others. Just, you know, people I now chat to on a day-to-day basis, not only about Bond but other things in life. I found people I've talked to like, you know, yeah, you like that as well. That's great. I mean, it excites me. Like, you know, there are mad Star Wars fans out there. I'm one of them. There's like fans of like, I don't know. So I'm just naming some other things I like here. Doctor Who and Thunderbirds, you know, and so many things. But it was Bond that was the number one thing. And it's interesting to me, certainly as a guy from the UK, we are very protective of Bond. We are. Even the casual fan is like, Bond is ours. Bond is ours. We are very protective, I think, of it. That's why I think, you know, and it just, I love hearing just other people's story and opinions, and like whether it being like what if, their top tens, their thoughts, they disagree. I love it when people disagree with me like you, because that way you can have great conversations, direct perspective. Like, you know,
I agree.
You just said stuff about No Time to Die. I thought, actually, I hadn't thought about, actually. I'm probably going to think about it a bit now later on tonight, just sort stuff out. And I love that, because then you can have more conversations about it. So
yeah, and somebody else made me think of it. So that's how the ball keeps rolling, you know?
Yeah.
It goes from one fan to the next. And that is incredible.
And I think, you know, for me, it would also, I think, be great, because I hope one day Eon see it themselves and go, you've got actually quite an incredible fan base who love you, really love what you do. We want you to keep making these Bond films, ideally a bit quicker. I'm not gonna lie. But
yeah, it's like a base of buyers saying, we want your product. Please.
We're literally going, here is the money. Here is the money.
Yes. But they're saying, well, buy this Fabergé. How about that?
Do you know, I was wondering if the Fabergé was going to come up in this video.
That was nice how I put it in there. Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh. I mean, you know, I know, again, it's a separate thing, but talking about, you know, back in our day, there was the films, there was video games, there was toys. Now there's basically the movies every now and then, and $2,000 worth of copy Fabergé egg. It's like, come on, Eon, you are missing out so much here.
Yeah, I don't even look at that stuff anymore, because it disgusts me, to be honest. Because, like you said, when I was young, you went around with plastic guns, you chased your friends around the block, just having fun with a Walther PPK that was completely made out of plastic. It didn't even need that red thing because we did not have terrorism back then, or at least not in a severe way that you need a red thing at the front of a plastic gun that I mean, I traveled to London with these things in a suitcase. I mean, it was in the back of the plane, but they scanned it and probably said, oh, that's a plastic gun. That might be a real one. I don't know.
I mean,
but I know I traveled with it.
I mean, Benjamin, you won't see it here, but literally, I've got there's a shelf behind me of where I keep my Bondness in the whole household, because my wife isn't really into James Bond. It's my thing. But I have the Blu-rays and some toy cars stuff. But I've got a toy that I had as a kid, which was the toy Walther P99, which I spent years as a kid perfecting my own gun barrel sequence.
As has everyone. Yes.
So it's just stuff like that, and it helped me get friends in life. You know, my best friend in life, he's a Bond fan as well, and we bonded over that and so many other things. Oh, it's just to me, it is the most wonderful community of people I have ever met. You know, whether there are some people who greatly disagree with me, maybe they disagree with you on certain things, but they've always been respectful enough to listen to my side of things, as well as I make sure I listen to them, and really acknowledge that I have listened to them. I really try. So, I mean, there's some guy I know who lives in Australia. He and I have very different views on Bond, but he's always been so respectful of my views and listened to him, and I've tried to listen to his, and it's just, I love it. I really do. It's just such a wonderful thing, and that's why I think your documentary is going to just be one of the greatest things, I think, in the whole pantheon of Bond era. I really do.
Yeah, and the important thing is also, it's not just a documentary about people saying, this is my story with Bond. I saw my first Bond film, which was Goldfinger, in 1969, or something like that. It's also people speaking about us, the community. And when you know me as a filmmaker, the story is important. The story is in the foreground. And when somebody says, I don't like what happens in this part of the community, it will be in the film. It will not be cut out because it hurts people or something, or names are being dropped. If somebody feels this needs to be said, it will be in the film.
Oh, yeah.
Because, when we disagree on Bond films, it is a 60-year history. You can disagree on a lot of things. And if you count the books, there's even more to disagree on. But it's also about the community. There are opinions out there, or people who don't let other people have their opinion and attack them for it. And that is the not so nice part of the community. It exists. And if somebody feels the need to say that, it will be in this documentary. Sure, why not? Because there is black and white everywhere. There's positive and negative. but it hasn't happened often.
Yeah.
I've had many interviews, but it hasn't happened often. That's maybe once or twice. And this film is not to highlight something that is wrong in the community or something that needs to be fixed. If it shows something, it just shows that we all have different tastes, we have different opinions, and they are all valid. And that is what everybody should remember. Every person's opinion is valid. And nobody has to suffer any attack from anyone when you love Brosnan, and Brosnan is your Bond. Nobody can put themselves on a higher pedestal and say, the Brosnan era was shit.
I'm going to shock
also,
you here.
I have problems with the Craig films, but to everybody who loves Daniel Craig, I would never say you're completely off your rocker, Daniel Craig. This was the worst shit that we've ever seen on screen. And you're a lesser person for it. If you love it, please do. And get in touch and get in conversation. There are great things about these films. As I said, it's just not the story I want to be told on screen. That's all.
I mean, when it comes to Daniel Craig, I mean, I think it's fair to say I've said I am a fan of Daniel Craig as James Bond. But, out of the 6 actors, I'd rank him 5th. That's why I think it's been so good. Even though I will say, I love Skyfall. I think Skyfall is one of the best Bond films personally ever made. Casino Royale, I think, is really good. I think it's a very different Bond film. There'll never be a sort of Bond film like it, really, because it is the...
Sure.
But I have issues with Casino Royale. I hold my hand up. But, yes, I prefer like Connery, Brosnan, Dalton, and Moore above, and you can work out number 6 from there if you want. Who would be there? But again, I love hearing the different viewpoints because I've got people I work with who have just grown up on Daniel Craig alone, and I love that because they talk to me about it and they might say, "Oh, that's old films." It's like, okay, well, first off, don't you dare call me old again.
It's a mistake that's easily made.
But it is fantastic, and I think, again, just to repeat myself, sorry, but everyone in this community agrees, disagrees, but is always so respectful, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and Daniel Craig's tenure. I had a point I wanted to make, but I forgot it. This happens. It's late.
Did you ever see the Bond Goofy
I know. If you can cut it in any way.
Yeah.
One point I wanted to make as the final one, probably, because we're going into overtime here. I never rank anything. I never rank the films. I never rank the actors because they're all great. All the films are great. There are films that are less enjoyable, more funnier, more campy, like Diamonds Are Forever. But depending on what mood you're in, you will find a Bond film that fits your mood. And you will find an actor who will fit your mood. And everybody, from Sean Connery to Daniel Craig, even Barry Nelson, they all tried their best.
Even Niven.
With what they were given. And not just the Bonds, also the villains. If a villain appears pale, it's the script. It's not him. I mean, it's part of the acting, how they play it, but essentially it's a script. So there is no good, there is no bad, there is not the middle. I love them all. I love all of them. And I would never dare. I really appreciate that you all do this and that you can. I will never rank anything.
I get that. No, I think that makes complete sense, and I know it is very late for you now, so I think that's a perfect note to sort of end this video on. Benjamin, I just want to say thank you so much for appearing on this video. I think if it was early in the time or another time, you and me could just go on and on and on and discuss so many more things, and I'd love to do so in the future. But everyone, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. I really hope you look forward to this documentary that is coming. I know we just chonged on a few things with Bond. I mean, it wasn't very much structure, but we just went with the flow, so to speak, which I think is really great. But until next time, everyone, my name's the Bond Geek. This is Benjamin from the Bond Bulletin. Goodbye.
Goodbye.